Thank you, thank you. I was born in Rome, New York, that is. My dad was in the Air Force at the time. I'd like to speculate to think that when my mom and dad first came to visit me in the hospital in that little Tupperware-like bin, they gazed down upon me, they thought, this boy's gonna do something with his life. His encounters will give him an opportunity to do things that we had never done before. Little did they know that I would have many close encounters, most of them, however, with the office. We fast forward a wee bit, I'm in 6th grade. It's a study hall, first period. Who gives a kid a first period study hall when he's in 6th grade? In my pocket was my trusty school kit. I took it with me everywhere. It was a penknife, a book of matches, please don't judge me, and a magnifying glass I had just gotten from an ad in the back of Boy's Life. The sun was coming through the window in that study hall so beautifully that day, and it was resting right on the back of Roy's head. Roy Ledoux was my friend. I had met him at the end of June when we moved to Rouse's Point from the Hudson Valley. Roy and I had built 2 tree houses, and we were in the process of building a go-kart together with an old lawnmower. I surreptitiously, while staring at that study hall teacher, pulled that magnifying glass from my pocket, got that ray to just touch the end of his ear. All I wanted to do was make him go tick, like that. Roy jumped out of his chair and tips over his desk and screams at me, "You stabbed me in the ear with a pencil!" That was the first time I met Mr. Letarte, the elementary school principal. He wrote a little note to my mom and said I would have 2 days detention. I took the note home to my mom and dad. My mom cried and said, "Oh my, Jimmy Howard," and then cried some more. I felt pretty badly, so I laid low for a few weeks until Roy and I one day thought, you know what, we didn't really care for social studies so much, so we took some copper wire, we wrapped it around 2 social studies books on his little shelf, and when he wrote on the board, which he did every day, all day, we would pull them off, just like a Halloween joke. Well, it worked beautifully, except his Clinton County Social Studies Teacher of the Year Award, who knew they gave those things away, fell to the floor and shattered. My second time in Mr. Letarte's office did not go nearly as well. He was not friendly, and when he asked me to empty my pockets, I got a full week of detention. That summer, my dad and I went to Hudson to help my grandma move because the house she was living in had too many stairs. On the way back, we took a little different avenue, and my dad stopped, rolled down the window, and he said, "You see those buildings over there? When I was a kid, that was the Hudson, New York Reform School for Boys. That's going to be your next school," and he didn't laugh. So I spent the next 2 years really working hard. I didn't get to this office very often, a couple detentions here and there, but I did okay. And then one day the bus pulls into the schoolyard and stalls halfway up. The bus driver tries to no avail to restart it, then looks up in his mirror and goes, "You kids get off the bus and get right to your homeroom," because that's how bus drivers talk back then. We all went down to the homeroom area, except for a couple of us fellas that ducked into the boys' room to check to see what the sartorial mandates of the day were. It was engineer boots, and I was never going to have a pair of those. One of the oldest kids, we're watching him, he quickly pulls a cigarette out of his pocket and lights it. I know enough about that. Smoking in the boys' room is going to be bad. So I turn and get ready to leave when my friend Roy, remember Roy from way back with the burned deer, he comes in and he goes, "Where are you going?" "Look what I have." From his jacket pocket, he takes a package of M80 cherry bombs wrapped with rubber bands, and the fuse is all braided together like my sister's ponytail. I said, "Are you crazy? You can't have that in school." And just then the big kid, Joe Camel, goes, "What do you guys got there?" Roy holds it up like a prize. Joe Camel takes his cigarette and he dobs the end of that fuse. It is now fusing really loud. Roy turns and throws it at me. I was playing second base at the time in high school, and I just did a nice catch, but go, oh my God, this is going to be a close encounter with an amputation. I look to my right, there's a stall and an open toilet. As a budding scientist, I know water puts out fire, and I just lobbed it into the toilet. The shards of toilet and toilet paper and water ignite the entire bathroom. Just when we all start to leave, my science teacher, Mr. Rose, slams open the door and says, "What the hell are you boys doing in here?" That's when a tiny piece of porcelain grazed Mr. Rose's head, and the blood begins to drip down over his forehead, through his eyebrow, and into his eye. Old Red Eye was not happy. That's when I met the superintendent of schools, Mr. Marr. Mr. Marr made me sit in his office, outer office, the whole day. At the end of the day, he hands me an envelope, has my mom and dad's name on it, and then it says, private, private, private. It looks like he scratched it with a screwdriver. He says, "You take this home to your parents." I got on the bus that day. Some of the kids gave me a high five. Thank you very much. I walked right to the back and did what any red American boy would do. I ripped that into 1,001 pieces and threw it out the bus window. Technology was not really a big thing back then. We had a 4-party line, and there was no such thing as an answering machine. So I went to school every day, got off the bus, and hid behind the shop. Many, many years later, we're visiting my mom in Meadowbrook. And she's getting ready for her close encounter with another life. And I felt a little brave that day, so I leaned down to my mom and whispered. I said, "Mom, did I ever tell you that I was suspended from school for a whole week?" She looks up at me, smiles, and she goes, "Oh, Jimmy, not Jimmy Howard." Thank you for listening.